It's very important that we do our part to help the community heal from the loss that was Wentworth, and we're doing that. The alternative to me, when the school announced it was closing, was unacceptable. I think every alumni who is in this building and giving of their time and their money and everything else has to feel the same way. It transformed all of our lives.
Launching of the museum to make sure the history of Wentworth is preserved is significant, not only for the alums, the old boys, but also for the community. Wentworth was a huge part of this community from 1880, over 100 years, and by preserving the records, preserving the artifacts, the photos, the videos, that's significant to keeping a piece of that Wentworth history alive.
It's really hard for me to put into words what it means. I have always loved Lexington history, and I just never had such an appreciation of the history of Wentworth until I got involved in this. And we're literally saving the history of a school. It's 137 years of history of people's lives. This museum is so special because it's been built $18.80 at a time. It's these small donations that add up that are making this a reality.
I'm extremely grateful that folks have rallied. I remember when we announced this was our plan, we got a lot of skeptics. Those skeptics have come around, and what was a core group of 10 people, those initial 10 people have grown to hundreds by now. We've got, just today, probably over 500 different donors to the museum. I'm a big believer, and so are everybody else involved in this, in doing it right the first time. So if we don't have the funds today to do it right, we're not going to do it.
From not having been here, not having been raised here, what they've been able to do here is clearly a sense of pride, that they all had so much pride and love for Wentworth. But for me, it almost gives me a feeling of I've missed out, that I wasn't a part of it. It's exciting now to have it here and to be able to come in and see what they've done, see how quickly they've pulled things together. It's a very impressive feat.
I'm so thankful to George and so many others and people like Chris Poley who have allowed us to maintain our traditions and our history and situations like this. You know, the thing about Wentworth, it was the people. It wasn't the buildings. You know, I can go in the other room, I can go downstairs, look at all the pictures, and I think of all the influences I had by such wonderful people. Not only my instructors, but the other students I was able to live with, associate with, and learn from. It was just a good life. I'll always be a man of Wentworth.
I remember back in the days when Wentworth and Kemper would play football every Thanksgiving Day. It was the little Army-Navy game, and the Cadet Corps, one year they'd both come to Lexington, march up and down the street for a 10 o'clock parade in the morning. Everybody'd go home and eat Thanksgiving dinner, and then we'd have the football game at 2 o'clock that afternoon. And just so many neat memories. Wentworth was such a big part of the entire Lexington community.
There were only about 300 cadets or so here when I was here, but we came from about 7 different countries and 35 different states. And for a farm kid born and raised in the same house in Honeywell, Missouri, my first roommate spoke very little to no English, and of course I'm from the exact center of the country. I spoke no Spanish, and here we are roommates. And at first, we would be there for the 2-hour study block trying to talk to each other, and we really couldn't, to becoming great friends. And I've traveled to Mexico to see him a couple of times for spring break since then. Obviously, you say George, who's Jewish. We'd have Islamic kids, and our instructors as well, who had taught and served throughout the world. So that exposure post high school for me was just amazing.
What has it meant to you to see this come together? Like, what has it meant to you?
I can't go there. The folks coming together on this has meant the world. I can never repay. I can't. I can never repay Wentworth for what it did for me, ever. And in a lot of ways, I see this as my penance my duty to make sure that the school that saved my life continues to be able to live on. For the first time, Wentworth cadets and alumni come back to Lexington without a campus to go to. And so this is where we will come now. Lexington is an incredibly historic town. From the courthouse to the Battle of Lexington and Wentworth. While campus may no longer exist, this town will be able to come to this museum and appreciate Wentworth and the history that Wentworth and Lexington really built together. It will live on.